Behold, I present unto thee clips from the Thursday, February the 1st service in Graham.
I was slammed with a back injury or something. Reverend Kinson will remember that. You remember you were in that dorm at that time. Was I messed up or what? I was very, very messed up. I think I had Reverend Olson pray for me, and I went my way, and I still felt as miserable as I did. But I didn't go away saying, see, if he knew God, God would have healed me. But it has nothing to do with the truth of the word or the effectiveness of the prayer or any of that. It was just that it was still there. And it went on for several days. 3 or 4 days this was going on. And as I stood up, there was one of the teachers standing there. Now this teacher, his name was Darwin of all things, not the one you know of. He was one of the most boring, lifeless people you ever listened to in your life. I mean, his classes would just drive you right into the tomb and snatch you back out. Except he didn't snatch you back out when the class was over. That's when you came out of the tomb. I mean, it was bad. And so,
if you're like me, you're wondering, how does KEKEL running down this guy who apparently is no longer around, how does that move the story forward? How does it have anything to do with the story? Why is it in there? It sounds very gratuitous, like just to be mean, like just to say something mean about someone from the past.
That day he had come by the dorm and I was in there and I forced myself to get up and go to the door, and he was at the door and he said, brother, I came to drop off this desk, can you help me move it in? I said, sir, I can't move anything. I'm so messed up. That's why I'm home. I'm sorry. I can't help you move the desk. But in that prayer meeting that night, when I stood up from picking up that mat, he was standing right there. He said, brother, what about your back? You know, he was a real pessimist, real downer, wasn't he? If he hadn't been a teacher, I don't think I could have maintained respect for the man.
This is actually pretty funny. Why have respect for a teacher? It's not like they're specially trained, specially called. They're just put in there to fill a need at the time, and are usually probably picked for loyalty. So he couldn't respect him or say, this guy's a little different, just as a fellow Christian. Never mind a title. How about looking at yourself? Even now, all these years later, he doesn't have, most of us, as time passes, we say, ooh, I was really had a bad attitude about this, or I looked at that with such a negative slant. I was talking to someone the other night, and it was just that same thing. They were sharing something, a way they thought years and years ago, and now they've been reflective about it, and they could say that. He, in 2023, about this guy from, it sounds like, back in St. Louis, he can't even mention here in his preaching that, man, I was kind of hard on that guy. He was, after all, a fellow Christian. But he feels okay to do it seems, because the guy is no longer around. That man wasn't afforded even the basic Christian nicety, that sort of consideration.
And then, so I looked at him. I said, God healed my back. He said, oh, okay. And so in the work of God, there are problems, and people are the problems.
I'm going to hold my tongue on that one.
And I could be like some of you. You have no idea what I go through. I'll be on the prayer group and everybody praying for me. That's what people did. Grow up already. Really? You're stressing out? You don't even know what stress is, pal. I do. I know you do.
I've shared some recent videos, and I've shared clips of KEKEL talking about he's sicker than anyone else. He's still there. He still showed up. He's more tired than anyone else. I know I'm more tired than you are. He said that last week, because he looks out at the congregation, and instead of having a tender heart to say, oh man, look at these people. They look bedraggled, their families. I'm sure the kids aren't getting enough sleep and everything. And all I did was fly in late on an airplane. They've got different things going on in their lives outside of whatever church activities are going on. I need to do something about that to help them out. So, no. Instead, he mocks. Instead, he says, I know I'm more tired than you are. And now, he knows stress. He's the one. He knows stress and pressure more than anyone else. He's just amazing. This is a pastor's heart. This is a pastor's love. This is a pastor's consideration and concern and understanding. This is gross. This is so gross and demeaning and degrading. And so Mike goes from one thing right into another. Let's see what his pastor's heart is doing now. Let's see.
So I had a talk with Pierre the other day. He was talking about how that the people out on the field don't know how to do music. And that's true. A lot of them don't.
So he can agree on that with him. Pierre was probably nice maybe and didn't mention how they don't necessarily know how to do music or some singing in Graham either. But there's no way he could get that out of his mouth. Because anybody who's heard that snare drum, whoo, or some of the singing that sounds like wounded animals, you're just like, well, maybe it sounds different over the internet. Maybe it sounds better when you're in there. That's the hope.
And he had a good intent, I suppose.
He had a good intent, I suppose. What do you mean when you say that about someone or something? I suppose they had a good idea. I suppose they did this for this reason. It comes across snarky, and it comes across as he's questioning whether it was or not.
He wanted there to be special classes and things to train them how to do music for the ministry and all this stuff. And I told him, well, really, I wasn't completely nice to him because I was a little bit annoyed. I said, you don't know anything about it. You haven't been around. I was doing this before you were even born.
Wow. So there's a lot to unpack there, isn't it? He shows how angry he gets. Davis used to do that when people made suggestions or asked about things. Ooh, don't ask about that. Now, granted, I have to play devil's advocate with myself and say we don't know how the person approached him, but does it matter? This is the man who's in charge of the organization, one of the bigwigs. He's not the chairman, but he's right up there, the higher echelon, as he said in that corporate meeting that they had. He's supposedly there to present Jesus, right? He's there to present Jesus and what he did and how he was and his unconditional love, how he wanted to help people. So my daughter and I were talking about this, and she said, that's funny, because recently he had that end of the service where he was asking for ideas. But here's someone ostensibly coming to him with an idea. The man is not wrong. KEKEL admitted he's not wrong. And trust me, I've listened to a lot of services out there, and I believe they're really trying. It's not working. It's very difficult to hear. But here's the thing. He's going to launch into a whole diatribe about why this won't work. I'm sorry, I'm getting that voice on again. He's going to go into it a little bit. I totally do not agree with that one bit. Having been in the Bible school, he's saying, can't make them into professional musicians in 3 years. Who said this guy's talking about turning them into professionals? Who's a professional? What does that even mean? Like, do it for a living? That's what a professional does. But you're talking about how he's going to go on and talk about how important it is and that people should, learn how to do this. Here they are up at the Bible school, the place where you should be learning about what to do out in the ministry, not an overview of the Bible in the classes. Most of those classes are absolutely worthless, going verse by verse or chapter by chapter. It's not helpful at all. The whole dispensations chart that we all had to do and all that junk. That was such an exercise in futility. It was busy work. That's what Bible school is. It's busy work and indoctrination. It'll be in Olson's class or KEKEL's that you get really fully indoctrinated about things. So let's say that he has a class or some presentation now where they tell some things about going out to the church. My bet it has a lot to do with finances and setting things up and maybe how to get started. Maybe. What does KEKEL know about that? He doesn't know squat. He's trying to tell this guy, Pierre, I've been doing this longer than you've been alive. What does that mean? Length? Yeah, many people were in the service longer than me when I was in there, hiding out and trying to make themselves look like they were busy all day. We knew people like that. You know people like that doesn't even have to be in the military. But time and service doesn't equal more knowledge. It doesn't. It doesn't, not one bit. So if someone comes along and they're interested, I don't know who Pierre is. I don't know if he has a musical background, but you've got Malone up there who definitely does. He's oozing with it, right? That's his testimony. That's what people say of him. So why not have a master class on that? Because here's what they do. I showed a video clip of how they had these ladies at the Bible school, the few that there were, preaching at a student service. Talk about a colossal waste of time. When are they ever going to preach? What was the point of that? To show women who could do it, to humiliate the guys who maybe weren't doing it well? There's no point in that. Total waste of time. So pulpit delivery, all that, you can't sneak in. You can't get rid of one of the classes or offer something online even. Offer something where Pierre, Jeff Malone, and others present, here's what you can do. Here are some ideas when you go out to start a church and you need instruments, or you want to be able to have background music. The ideal thing would be have it as an elective, just some extra thing that's out there that they can view and practice before they leave the school. Like go get an instrumental. That's easy to do. You can do that all day long online. You can go purchase a bunch of them. You're only going to be singing those same what are they called? Not hymns. Choruses. There you go. Thank you, brain. You're still working. I appreciate it. You're going to do the same ones over and over. And most of those people out there in the field singing a special is not special at all. It makes you want to go. It makes people, especially when you have a small group, feel very uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. So the best thing is, don't even do that. There has to be, why does there have to be this set way? None of it makes sense. None of it. And he can't see it because he's never done it. And all he wants to see is numbers on a flow chart. That's it. That is totally it. Because if he had just one care in his body about these people that they're sending out, these people aren't being sent by God. The board is sending them out. If people really wanted to have their own special ministry that God has called them to, then it would not look like NTCC or most other highly structured churches. It would look more like home groups. And then you could just maybe break out in song or however you want to do it. But you have someone here who's interested. You could put together just a bang up thing for what you say is so important, It's really not, because when it comes down to it, when you go out to pioneer, people are not coming for that. And that shouldn't be what you rely on. And if you can't have someone help you right by your side, look at how many things we can learn online these days. And why not have something like that in your own group when you have the qualified people? But to just be angrily answering this guy Pierre to say, I've been doing this longer than you've been alive. He's behaving here like just a punk, really. He is not a pastor, and he doesn't have any qualities that even come close to that. And I want people to see that. I want you to see this and not just sit there in a service and go, yay, amen, sir. Yeah, ha, 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 you're so funny, ha, ha. It's not funny. It's not funny at all. And you don't need to say amen to that. That encourages these type of people and their bad behavior. And if I were Pierre, I hope he walked out after service. I hope he just kept walking, got in his car, whatever he had to do, and drove, and doesn't go back, because that's humiliating what he just did to him. I just always have to say to myself, can you picture Jesus, the Jesus that's in the New Testament, sitting there doing that to people every single time they're together? Oh, you know what? You know what Peter said to me earlier today? And I told him, dude, I've been alive longer than you've been alive. I know this God game. Come on. You have to wake up. You have to wake up and see what's going on and what you are subjecting yourselves to. And it's happened over time, and it's happened because it's just habit, because you're too busy to think about what's going on around you. But please step back and see this is no way to treat people.
So, but he was trying to say a good idea that they would learn here. And what he didn't realize when I had to tell him, hey, you don't understand. It's not my job to give them music lessons and turn them into professional musicians. It's their job to pursue that if they want to. All I'm telling them is you're going to need some music in your church. And if they don't go get it, if they don't develop themselves, if they don't develop their leadership, if they don't take, there's no way in 3 years you can turn everybody into a fully capable worker.
So that's what they're there for those 3 years, to be turned into fully capable workers? It's not about, in 3 years, I can't turn them into this. It's not you. You have people there. You have people that can put together a program. I like that word, program. See, for me, I'm just saying this just to point out how he's treating people and what he could have done. You know, I don't want this group to proceed. I don't want them to do helpful things. They're not going to do it anyway. They're not going to consider. It's not been in the, as I've said, the DNA of this group since its inception. It is not going to change now. If anything, Mike gets more and more just out of control. Can you imagine? I heard one of the services in Woodbrook, and I don't know his first name, Brown over there, the pastor. He was talking about, at the end of a service, putting together carpools for getting over to, or one carpool, to get over to Graham on a Thursday night, because that's what usually happens, is local churches can go there. And we know he was there in this service because KEKEL makes mention of him at the end. Well, can you imagine you are wanting to bring your church members, let's say, over, and you feel like, wow, Reverend KEKEL's going to be there, and they play them up, you know. He's the CEO of this group, and he's the president of the Bible school, whatever he is now, whatever titles he has, Reverend, pastor, senior pastor, CEO, president, blah, blah, blah. And then they come, and it's this string of things he says, and there's more. There's more than this. This to me is enough, but there is more. Hang in there.
You have to work. You have to make mistakes. You have to mess it up. You have to pray through and get back up. You have to die and rise from the dead over and over and over again. You have to get right and get your head right. Nobody can give that to you.
How'd he jump from all this musical stuff to you have to get right and stay right and think right and, so because of that, because he thinks the best way is, here's a bike, go ride it. You know what you do? You stand there along your kids when they're starting to learn. You push them from the back to let them know it takes momentum. It takes going faster will keep you from falling. And I'm going to be here holding on to the seat and helping you to stay, to know what it feels like to be balanced. That's what you do. You don't just get on a bike and go. And I feel sorry if some kid didn't have someone to do that for them, then it's going to take longer. But as a parent, if you're there, you're not going to do that to your kid. Say, oh, I had to learn that way. You got to learn that way. It's not right. You have the ability. You can't take 5 minutes to go out there with your kid and run around with the bike and help them have success so they don't get hurt more than they need to. It's the same thing here. It's stupid music. You can't offer something. You don't have a creative mind to say, there's got to be some way we can offer some help on this. Why wouldn't you have that heart to want to help instead of saying this diatribe? Why say, I can't make them professionals in 3 years, so I'm not going to do jack squat. I'm going to do 0.
You got to go get it. So I'm not going to spend all my days trying to teach people how to do music.
It's kind of like a drama queen here. Why does he have to spend all his days? This is like every angry mom that says, I always have to do this. I always have to be the one. He doesn't have to do anything. He can just put together a team. He's got the people there to do it. If they have it anywhere, they have it in Graham. But he won't. Instead, he's gonna pummel Pierre, and he's gonna tell everybody else, you're on your own. Guess what? It's all or nothing with me, and I'm doing nothing.
Or anything else. I'm not going to take you through every step of it and all that. You get a basic understanding of the highlights of the Bible to guide you and keep you away from the error that's out there. That was our conversation. I tried to get him to see that.
So even in however much time has passed since he had the conversation with Pierre, he has not stepped back. He's not backpedaled at all and said, I was hard on him. He had a good idea, and man, maybe we should really think about it. No, not one bit.
You can tell someone, you can show someone, but they really don't learn it with a seasoned skill until they get in there and make all the mistakes and the failures and then correct it and figure out what they did wrong and start doing it differently. It's the only way. You don't learn to ride a bike by not getting on it because you might crash. Get on it, go ahead and crash, buy some Band-Aids, get some stitches, whatever you got to do. But soon you'll be flying along with perfect balance because you went and you stayed with it. It's just the way that a person has to learn. Nobody can put it all in your head for you.
This is a Thursday night gripe session from Mike, because now we're going into something else. And for those of you who have been around a while, you are not going to believe, I think, what he dares to say here is pretty unbelievable. I think the man totally forgot his road to matrimony, how short it was, how young she was. And I think he totally had it escape his mind how many marriages through the decades have occurred where, I think we did the math one time, if a man and a woman sat on the wall for maybe an hour at fellowship, and they did that, let's say a handful of times, let's say 6 to 10 hours tops of getting to know each other, right? Especially in the days before they could talk on the phone. what is he talking about here? I think if you're talking on the phone with someone and you're doing it a lot, you will learn a lot about someone. You will learn way more than the amount of time that he had before he got married, or Phil Kinson with his very, very, very young bride. And we can all sit and picture through the years all the people we know that sat on the wall, got married, got divorced, got remarried, got divorced, got remarried. It's crazy that he even dares to bring this up. It just shows his impotence. It's just in your face.
And, there's other things too. Like what are you going to do when it comes time for you to get married? I think some of these folks are going to get 90 years old before they decide they need somebody.
So here's Mike talking about this. Who do these men and women have to choose from? Who? Who is there for them to choose from to marry? What, 3 people? 2 people? Organization-wide? What do they have to do? Wait for a conference and start being on the prowl? Because it's what the position you put them in. If a man or woman who are godly, who are saved according to your Bible, if they meet someone outside of the group that they say, this person's a Christian, like really, they don't go to their church and they're pleased to get married and they get married. NTCC is not going to have any of it. They'll blame that if there is a divorce. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, you have people all the time in this organization telling people through the years, through the decades, it's okay to leave your husband or wife because they're not going to church anymore. I'm sorry. Where is that in the Bible? They say unequally yoked. That means not in their group. That's what they mean. So you have, in effect, created a bunch of men and women who are nothing more than monks or priests and nuns. And you've put them in a terrible position, a frustrating position. And they have to come listen to you, KEKEL, preach to them about this.
And I understand. It's like my son said one time. So why don't you get a girlfriend? He said, I don't want the drama. So, yeah, okay. I get that. Because relationships are drama. But I'll tell you this. If you marry somebody you don't know, you may have a big surprise coming. And you think that you can sit there and talk to them on the phone and know them? God bless your poor gullible heart.
What did he just say? Oh my.
Whoever got married knowing someone fully and completely. And for sure, you're not going to go and jump in bed with the person in NTCC before getting married, so you're not going to know about some very intimate details. So what in the world is he talking about, this hypocrite who did not go about that in his own way, in his own life, in his own marriage? And he had the blessing of the founder of the organization, who is the father of his wife.
You think that you can know them for 6 months and go out and sit there and look at each other and share a Coke and know them? No, you don't know them. You know them when they get up in the morning and they blow their stinking breath on you. And you say, what in the earth have you been eating? What? And they get defensive and you get in a big old fight and she gets ready to run out of the house and take a hike somewhere and you get ready to go find a loaf of bread and then you're fighting and then there's no relationship going on because people who are angry at each other don't smooch around too much.
Man, if he's projecting on everyone else what he experienced in his first days of marriage, I think, Mike, most people know that they're going to wake up next to someone with bad breath and whatnot. And especially if they've been talking with each other and having time together for 6 months. It's more than 6 hours. It's way more than 6 hours. Or 6 days, or even 6 weeks. I don't know if anyone married in the leadership. I wonder if there's anyone that went at least 6 weeks. I'd be interested to know.
So now they're not doing what they wanted to do so badly to start with. But you try to tell them, hey, you better check that dude out. You better see what that girl's made of. The Bible said, be not unequally yoked together with unbelievers. But they don't care now. They just get online and order a wife from overseas, ship her over here. She said she's a Christian, but when you get her, does she look like a Christian? When she was on the video, she didn't look like a Christian, but you didn't care because you were hot to trot, honey. You had to have it, and you bought yourself a devil. If you luck up, God bless you, I'm glad for you. But that's a chance that a man and a woman just can't take.
Oh, yeah, because your chances are so much better, Mike, under the regime. And if people don't have to get permission now, if they can court when they want, when they feel like it, they can talk when they want, they can write when they want, then that's something. But there's still not many people to choose from. And when do they get to spend time together?
I'm going to go on hunk.com and mail order me a husband. Yeah, and the first time he tells you, shut up, woman, what are you going to do?
Oh, yeah, because that has never, ever happened in NTCC. Never has a husband, after sitting on the wall for 5 minutes, never has one ever told his wife to shut up, woman. No one ever. They don't have to go on hunk.com. How ignorant, I'm not even going to say how ignorant he is. How ignorant does he think you are? He's insulting you. Anybody listening with perked up ears say, ooh, what does the pastor have to say to us tonight? This is a total gripe session by him. It should have been left for the students in the school, but for some reason he wanted to open it up to everybody and the public, anybody who came seeking something from God. Oh, you gotta, they were pumped up to come out. You gotta hear our pastor. You gotta hear president of the Bible school. I'm telling you, all of you GIs who are being pushed to come to this place, to go to the school. It's not a school, it's busy work. It's just busy work. It's indoctrination, and it's stuff like this. Don't come as a single guy, please, or a single woman. If you're hot to trot, like he says, find someone ahead of time because it will be awful for you. It's going to be awful anyway, but it's really going to be awful if you are someone wanting a companion and you are only limited to the people within the group. Many, many, many have walked in those steps before you, and they lived miserably for a very, very long time. I'm really asking you, I'm pleading to take heed, to listen to this man and say, what did he give me tonight? I came hungry for something. What did I go away with? I'm starving. My life is a certain way, and I want it to change. And I thought going to church was the answer. It's not about a building. It's not about, you can find a little gathering of people that really love God that are not going to treat you this way. You really need to find something. Find a situation where you are not torn down and put in this awful position. He's wrong. He's so far wrong. He's messing up your life if you listen to him.
No, you shut up! I have talked to I don't know how many hundreds of people about marriage issues, and they never come back. They always go away and say, I talked to Pastor KEKEL, didn't help. Because I told them, you're wrong. You need to quit being like that. You're crabby. You're mean. You spend all the money. You got to stop doing that. You're wrong. And they don't like that. That's not the kind of counseling they want. They want you to just sort of fix it. And I didn't go in there with a striped shirt and a whistle around my neck. If I wanted to be a referee, that's what I would be. But until people decide that I need to get the love of God in me so I quit treating my spouse like dirt, we all think that we're so dead level right, but we're always so wrong, it seems. Because if the results aren't there, then something went wrong with the thinking.
If only Mike would turn this message on himself and himself alone. But he won't, because he does think he's right. And he's okay with turning a whole service into a gripe session. Doesn't matter if he started out talking about the new creation, and he'll say a little ditty near the end, and then he'll do what he did that I already posted a video of, and he'll liken James Ashmore to a prosperity preacher. And I don't know, you have to really, I guess, stop and think. This service, plus others, plus things you've seen go on, is this what you really want to be a part of?